In an era of remasters and remakes where everything under the sun is getting one, today we're talking about the superhero games that deserve one. Those that have been left out in the cold for way too long now. A chance to reminisce on some childhood classics for me that I'd love to see brought back. The criteria for this is that the game is currently unavailable to play or purchase on current gen consoles like PlayStation 5 or Series X. And before we get started, very quickly, if superhero games content is what you're after, make sure you subscribe by now. Alright, let's get started and get the most obvious one out of the way first. The idea that WB, a company that is broken in its video games department, have not yet remastered Arkham Origins is straight up insane to me. The only way to play this game right now is PS3 or Xbox 360, PC, which is the best way to play, PlayStation's crappy PS3 emulation software, or you own the 360 disc that you can put into your Series X or Xbox One. And Arkham Origins is actually a lot of people's favourite Arkham game thanks to it being probably the most character driven one. Well, at least before Arkham Shadow hit. Me personally, I love to replay this game every Christmas because of the Gotham setting that is set on Christmas Eve itself. And it sucks that console players are stuck playing this game at 720p 30 frames per second. Like, it's flat out unacceptable for how great a video game this is. With a few mods on PC, this game looks fantastic. Maybe not as good as Arkham Knight, but it still does a great job of capturing a Christmas-soaked Gotham. Not to mention, I think Arkham Origins has got the best DLC in the Arkham series with A Cold Cold Heart, which is Batman's introduction to Mr. Freeze, and I know so many people that have slept on this DLC, and it really is great. And it all makes sense at the end of the day. WB, a company that is in dire need of some money and cash injection, Arkham fans who are always craving more Arkham content, and especially to revisit Arkham Origins, this just makes perfect sense. And I feel like out of all the remasters here that I'm going to talk about, this is the most logical one to happen and probably the most likely to happen. Will it? Who knows at this point with WB. But we just need to do the right thing and remaster it to current gen. Give it the current gen capabilities, a bit shinier, 4K resolution, above 30 frames per second, make it playable. And this is going to be important in what is going to be a drought few years in DC video games. Flipping comic book universes, and before Into the Spider-Verse came around, for a lot of people, the introduction to a Spider-Man multiverse actually came from Spider-Man Shattered Dimensions. And man, as a kid, was this the coolest shit ever. This was one of my favourite Spider-Man projects in any media, man. It's the first time I ever encountered Spider-Man 2099 and Spider-Man Noir, and I lost my fucking mind. Seeing the noir versions of iconic villains, the neon-lit city of 2099, Shattered Dimensions was a fantastic video game for its time, and one that is very worthy of a remaster. Especially when you think about how this hit in a sea of mid-movie tie-ins, or even its sequel Edge of Time, which just didn't hit the same heights that Shattered Dimensions did. Sure, it would be a little bit jarring to play in 2025 now that Insomniac have cracked the code for Spider-Man, but man, this campaign was an absolute blast to play. And also, I really enjoyed the variety in its gameplay offerings. That Spider-Man Noir was this very stealth-focused linear sections, and the Ultimate Spider-Man, you have this big, powerful brute, and each of the 4 Spider-Men felt so different and unique to play. I'm not sure this will get a remaster, but with Xbox now owning Activision and Xbox's backwards compatibility campaign, I genuinely believe there's a solid chance of Shattered Dimensions coming back, and man, I hope it does. Along those same lines, in another Activision title is Marvel Ultimate Alliance, and I'm going to put both of them together in Ultimate Alliance 1 and 2, but Ultimate Alliance 1 is my particular favourite because of its grounded nature, who the villain is, and for me, it was kind of my MCU, my original MCU, and it was my introduction to a lot of these characters. You think about how the MCU is the first time that the audience has met a lot of these characters. Ultimate Alliance was my introduction to Deadpool, Iceman, Blade, Hawkeye, and on top of that, it's just a really great video game. I have so many fond memories of this game, and I recently replayed it last year and did a big video on it, and I just forgot about so much of it, how you could get Blade out of some like gacha box, the introductions of a lot of these characters. There's so many features within Ultimate Alliance that I absolutely adore. that even 3, as a solid package that it is, it's stuck on the Nintendo Switch, Ultimate Alliance 1 is still my favourite one. Like I say, 3 on the Switch definitely plays better even if it is stuck at 30 frames per second, but the grounded nature of that first Ultimate Alliance game is what made it so special. Not to mention that it would be very, very timely to bring this one back with the emphasis as Doctor Doom as the main antagonist. And it's a really good Doctor Doom too, so seeing what they're doing in the MCU, it would make a ton of sense to get this one back on shelves and available for purchase. The fun of these games as well is always in the cast of characters and how you can get the team up synergies of Avengers or the X-Men, but also just mixing and matching based on your favourite heroes. Especially when you factor in the fact that Magneto and Venom and even Doctor Doom all became playable characters in this. And what was really fantastic as well is a kid who grew up a lot with DC, with Justice League Unlimited, and only on the Marvel side it was really Spider-Man. With Ultimate Alliance, they had these simulated discs and origin stories. So let's say there's a character you really want to know more about, like Deadpool. You would go into this lab and you would get this handcrafted mission that, sure, it like reuses environments, but you would fight against one of Deadpool's main villains, and it would teach you the backstory as you progress through the level about who this character is, who the friends are, and what they're doing, and a lot more about them. And it was that kind of love for the source material that I appreciate so much about Ultimate Alliance that I think kind of helps make this game timeless. It's not as expansive with alternate costumes that many superhero games are of today, but there's still stuff to get in there, and yeah, Ultimate Alliance just needs to come back, whether that's Ultimate Alliance 4, but these remasters are a must for me. I am aware that this game did come back for a little bit because I played it on PS5. I think they ported it to PS4 and then they made them available for purchase again. But as of right now, you cannot buy these video games on any storefronts. Again, with this being Activision, there is a high possibility that with that compatibility campaign, these games could definitely come back. And I really hope they do, man, because these games shouldn't be lost. And again, I hope that both of them are remastered at the end of the day. And I hope that 3 gets ported to the other consoles. But Civil War was still, Ultimate Alliance 2, which was focused on Civil War, was still pretty good. It just wasn't as strong as the first one, especially with some of the choices you have to make in the first game. Pretty good if you ask me. Moving away from traditional comic book universes for a second, and a gap in my superhero portfolio, Sony, please remaster the Infamous games. For the love of God. I've heard nothing but amazing things about Sucker Punch's Infamous games with Cole. I always looked at them and I thought it looked so fucking cool as a kid, with the colours and the powers and how you shape Cole by the decisions that you're making, whether that's good or bad. And it's so frustrating to see Sony remaster 1,000,000,001 games that don't even really need them, like Days Gone and Horizon and 1,000,000,001 Last of Us. When we got games like this that generations haven't played, that are stuck on the PS3, and they're doing nothing with them because Sucker Punch are working on their Ghost games. And it's sad. And listen, I am not touching that PS Now tech that streams to the PS3. It's terrible. Look, I want to see new IPs and new games, sure, but if we are going to do remasters, let's salvage games that some people have never experienced. And for me, one of those games has to be Cole's Infamous games. Infamous 2 is one that I constantly sought out in Blockbuster, that every week I would go there on the Friday, I'd look for it, and it just never would be there. And eventually, I just moved on and never found the chance to play it. And I would love to stream those games and play those games one day, because I've heard nothing but great things about them. Even if I missed them in their moment, in their prime, some games are timeless in that aspect, and what Sucker Punch looked like they created there, I would love to give them the remaster treatment so that I could experience them for the first time. I love the blue and the red dynamic that they have going on, and I just think if you're not doing anything with the franchise going forward, the least you can do is remaster it for current gen so that a new generation of players can get their hands on it. It's part of a wider PlayStation problem of having this legacy of IPs that are just dormant because the studios that made them are moving on to do other things. But come on, Sony, man. Bring back Infamous. Going back to traditional comic book universes, seeing the success of Marvel Rivals hitting 30 million plus players on that video game is incredible to see. But as someone who is more grounded in the PvE side of video games and the PvP side, I still feel like I'm missing that live service superhero game. that I truly want. I'd hope that it might have been Suicide Squad or Marvel's Avengers, but for multiple different reasons, those turned out to not be the case. And with that said, I would love to see a style of Marvel Heroes or Marvel Heroes Omega be remastered or brought back in some capacity. I'm convinced that had this game been around today, it would be popular. With there being more knowledge now than ever of how to run a live service efficiently, Marvel characters more mainstream and known than ever, this top-down MMO Marvel game is one that I would love the chance to go back and play. Now, fair enough, I'm kind of breaking the rules a little bit because I'm not necessarily asking for a remaster, but I'm reimagining here of this kind of video game. I'm a little bit desperate for a PvE superhero game, right? But what I'm trying to get at is that I feel this game still has potential rooted in there somewhere. I'm not sure that a third-person superhero live service game that is big budget like Suicide Squad or Marvel's Avengers can meet the expectations required to get there with loot and all the shenanigans that are involved in a live service game. But for a top-down kind of MMO style one, I'm certain of it. Like, think about it, you could do raids and dungeons with your friends, and the monetization model is more widespread than ever. Comics, skins, MCU skins, and they just have seasons focused around MCU synergy, comic events. There's an infinite amount of sources that they could pull from. I think so many people adore Marvel Rivals, but I've just always preferred a PvE experience, and I do believe there's a big demand for a PvE multiplayer game set in a comic book universe. I mean, just look at DC Universe Online and how that is still going strong in 2025. A Marvel or DC equivalent of Marvel Heroes in 2025 would be beautiful. Wrapping this up with some rapid fire movie tie-ins, because whilst there have been some abominations of movie tie-in games for superheroes, I'm looking at you, Thor, I'm looking at you, The Amazing Spider-Man 2, and I'm looking at 1,000,001 of the early 2000s. There's been some truly dreadful superhero tie-in games. But whilst that's true, there's also been some great ones that I would love to play again. It's a little weird to speak about some of these because some of these characters I'm going to mention do have a game on the way. But that Captain America movie tie-in game was surprisingly solid compared to its MCU counterparts of Iron Man, Iron Man 2, and Thor. It felt like they really tried with this one, and combat was actually surprisingly competent and fun, but I think what stands out most about this game is the setting. Look, Captain America Super Soldier, by current standards of comic book video games, it's not as good, obviously, but between that MCU setting, the character's combat kit, the traversal, and a fairly decent story, I hope this game isn't lost to time. We obviously have 1943 on the way, which will scratch that itch, but this is a game that it was better than I thought it would be. Keeping on the same path of characters with a video game on the horizon, it's the one you probably expected when you clicked on this video. X-Men Origins Wolverine. For me, this is the best movie tie-in game out of all the superheroes, and sure, there's been some other good ones. Batman Begins, Spider-Man 2, there is some good movie tie-in games here, but I'm not sure there's a case where the video game movie tie-in is gigantically, enormously, substantially better than its movie counterpart, which was just... it was terrible. What did they do to Deadpool? Like, this was leaps above the movie. A lot of people point to this video game and they talk about how Wolverine's health regenerative features are here, where you physically see the damage done on Wolverine, and how graphic and gory this game is, and how unique it is. But it was also a true Wolverine experience in how the character played. His health regen, the campaign, the combat kit. X-Men Origins Wolverine is my favourite movie tie-in game, and despite the fact that I am sure Insomniac Games will deliver the goods when it comes to Wolverine, this game really should be brought back. I'm going to sneak one more little one in there for a game that I haven't played, The Punisher on PS2. This game reminds me a lot of the Hitman formula and how interactive the environment is, how you can kind of interrogate and get information out of people, and I know people that have played this game and they absolutely adore it. And I just like some more Punisher content at the end of the day. We haven't had a Punisher game since then, and this is a character soon to be on the rise again with his involvement in Daredevil and his own limited Disney event. So what better times than to bring a game like that back? I would love to play this one. Of course, the tricky part of all this is licensing. The movie tie-in games, we probably have no chance of it ever happening, but Ultimate Alliance, Infamous, and Arkham Origins, I really do believe there is potential for them to actually happen, given Xbox buying Activision, and I'm sure they're going to keep wanting to expand that catalogue as I mentioned, and make them available for purchase again, which would be huge, by the way. Game preservation is very important, and these would be a massive get to get on Xbox Game Pass if they could. But the fact is, I just wanted an excuse to ramble about some superhero video games that I adored growing up, and I would love to see come back. But regardless, I want to hear from you. Do you agree with this list? Is there any video games that I maybe missed? Like Ultimate Spider-Man, for example. I just didn't want to crowd it with too much Spider-Man on this list. But yeah, if I missed anything in here, let me know in the comments down below. Or if there's anything out of this list that you're like, yes, we need to see this again. If you enjoyed this video, dropping a like would mean a lot to me and really help me out. And as I said at the top, comic book games content, I've got you covered. News, reviews, guides, streams, the full shebang. So if you're not subscribed and you're new here, make sure you hit that subscribe button. Otherwise, all my socials are linked in the description down below. Regardless, I hope you have a terrific day. Play games, get gains, and I will catch you in the next one.